and supervising the warfare that results in the execution of God's enemies. Mouth is often used synonymously for speech or the power of speech, as can be seen from some of the instances cited above. The rule governing evidence in a case under the Mosaic law, and also followed in the Christian congregation, is that a person may be found guilty only at the mouth, that is, on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. To 17. 6. Mount 18. 16. Compare to Co 13. 1. A few other examples of similar usage are found at Job 32. 5. Psalms 10. 7. 55. 21. 78. 36. Ezekiel 24. 27. 29. 21. Luke 21. 15. FTN. Romans 15. 6. In addition, mouth may have reference to the opening of something, such as of a well GE 29. 2. A bag GE 43. 12. 44. 1, 2. A cave Jos 10. 22. Or to an opening in the earth New 16. 32. As well as to the ability of the earth to absorb liquids poured onto it GE 4. 11. Sheol, mankind's common grave, is spoken of as having a wide mouth, so as to receive many dead. Issa 5. 14. The palate. The palate is the roof of the mouth, which separates the mouth from the nasal cavities. It has a soft part that forms a curtain between the mouth and the pharynx. In the scriptures, palate is, in some cases, used synonymously with mouth. P8. 7. O8. 1. FTN. Both Job and Elihu make a comparative use of the word when they liken the palate's ability to discriminate taste to man's judgment as to what is right and wise. Job 12. 11. 34. 3. That the palate has a function in tasting is not erroneous, as is sometimes claimed. This can be seen by observing the part played by the palate in swallowing. Food is pressed by the tongue against the palate and spread out as it moves back into the pharynx, which is a cone-shaped tube leading toward the stomach and connecting also with the nasal passages. This brings about better diffusion of the aroma of the food into the nasal passages, which greatly contributes to what is commonly called taste. Mosai going forth. 1. A descendant of Judah and son of Caleb by his concubine Fr. 1 ch 2. 46. 2. A Benjamite and descendant of King Saul. He was the son of Zimri and father of Binea. 1 ch 8. 33-37. 9. 42, 43. Mosa drained pressed. Squeezed out. A Benjamite city. Jos 18. 21, 26. The ancient site is considered to be at or near Kalunium of Aseret Zion, a village about 7 kilometers 4.5 MWNW of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Jar handles stamped with the name Mosa have been found at Jericho and Tel Nasbeh. Muleheb. Pered. Pia middle dashi mule. The hybrid offspring of Ahias and Amer. The mule's body resembles that of the horse, but its short, thick head, long ears, short mane, small feet, and tail otextoi acute muritra longo. Mapim 450 Isaiah, indicated that mules would be one of the means of transport for bringing his scattered people to Jerusalem. Issa 66. 20. It is therefore of note that in fulfillment of prophecy those returning from Babylonian exile brought with them 245 mules in addition to other beasts of burden. As 2. 66. NE 7. 68. Humans are counseled not to make themselves persons without understanding, like a horse or a mule whose spiritiness must be curbed by means of a bridle or a halter. PS 32. 9. Mapim. One of the sons of Benjamin GE 46. 21. Evidently identical with Shephapim New 26. 39, Shephapim 1 ch 8. 5, and Shapim 1 ch 7. 12. Murder. The original language words variously rendered kill, murder, and slay refer to the taking of a life, the context or other scriptures determining whether the deliberate and unauthorized or unlawful taking of another person's life is involved. For example, in the command, "You must not murder" X 20. 13. The Hebrew word for murder zach here clearly refers to deliberate and unlawful killing. But at Numbers 35. 27 the same term denotes an act that an avenger of blood was authorized to carry out. Therefore, the command, "You must not murder," has to be understood within the framework of the entire Mosaic law, which authorized the taking of human life under certain circumstances, as in the execution of criminals. Early history. Almost from the beginning of human history, murder has been known. Through his disobedience, the first man Adam passed sin and death to his offspring, thus, in effect, proving himself to be a murderer. Row 5. 12. 6. 23 It was the devil who deliberately contributed to this development by inducing Adam's wife Eve to sin, thus himself becoming a manslayer, a murderer, at the beginning of his course as a slanderer of God. Ge 3. 13. Jo 8. 44. Less than 130 years afterward, the first violent murder, a fratricide, occurred. Cain, Adam's firstborn son, motivated by envious hatred, murdered his righteous brother Abel. Ge 4. 1-8, 25. 5. 3 For this act Cain was cursed in banishment to become a wanderer and a fugitive in the earth. Ge 4. 11, 12 Not until after the flood of Noah's day did God authorize humans to administer capital punishment for murder. Ge 9. 6. Under the law. Centuries later the Mosaic law was given to the Israelites, and it included extensive legislation regarding the taking of human life. It differentiated between deliberate and accidental slaying. Factors considered as weighing against a person claiming to be an accidental manslayer were: if he one had been a former hatter of the slain person to 19. 11, 12. Compare Jo's 20. 5, 2 had lain in wait for the victim new 35. 20, 21, or 3 had used an object or implement capable of inflicting a mortal wound new 35. 16-18. Even slaves, if killed while being beaten by their masters, were to be avenged. X 21. 20 Whereas the death penalty was prescribed for deliberate murderers and a ransom was ruled out in their case, unintentional manslayers could preserve their lives by availing themselves of the safety accorded them in the cities of refuge. X 21. 12, 13. New 35. 30, 31. Jo's 20. 2, 3. See cities of refuge. Certain deliberate acts that indirectly caused or could have resulted in the death of another person were considered tantamount to deliberate murder. For example, the owner of a goring bull who disregarded previous warnings to keep the animal under guard could be put to death if his bull killed someone. In some cases, however, a ransom could be accepted in place of the life of the owner. Undoubtedly the judges would take circumstances into consideration in such a case. X 21. 29, 30 Also, an individual scheming to have another person killed by presenting false testimony was himself to be put to death. The 19. 18-21. The law permitted self-defense, but restricted an individual's right to fight for his property. Blood guilt camo text to acute miritra longo. Music 451 Murder with wrong attitudes such as an individual's continuing wrathful with his brother, speaking abusively to him, or wrongly judging and condemning him as a despicable fool. Mount 5. 21, 22 Such hatred may lead to actual murder. It appears that the words of James 5. 6, you have condemned, you have murdered the righteous one, may be understood in this light. Wicked rich persons who showed hatred for genuine disciples of God's Son and took oppressive action against them did in some instances actually murder these Christians. As treatment accorded to his brothers is considered by Christ Jesus to be meted out to him, these persons had also figuratively murdered him, and James evidently had that in mind. Compare Jas 2. 1-11. Mount 25. 40, 45. Act 3. 14, 15. Although followers of Christ might be persecuted and even murdered for righteousness' sake, they were not to be found suffering for having committed murder or other crimes. Mount 10. 16, 17, 28. 1 PE 4. 12-16. Re 21. 8. 22. 15. Mushi, grandson of Levi and son of Merari. X 6. 16, 19 Mushi became father to 3 sons and founded a family called the Mushites. 1 Ch 23. 23. New 26. 58. Mushites possibly, of belonging to Moses. A Levite family that descended from Mushi the son of Merari. New 3. 17, 20, 33. 26. 58. Music. One of the gifts of God by which man can render praise and thanksgiving to his Creator as well as give expression to his emotions, his sorrows and joys. Especially has singing been prominent in the worship of Jehovah God, but instrumental music, too, has played a vital role. It has served not only to accompany the vocalists, but also to complement their singing. So it is not surprising that references to both vocal and instrumental music abound in the Bible from beginning to end, in association with true worship and otherwise. GE 4. 21. 31. 27. 1 Ch 25. 1. Re 18. 22. History. The Bible's first reference to music is before the flood, in the 7th generation following Adam. Jubal proved to be the founder of all those who handled the harp and the pipe. This may describe the invention of the first musical instruments, or perhaps even the establishment of some kind of musical profession. GE 4. 21. In patriarchal times music seems to have been an integral part of life, judging from Laban's desire to give Jacob and his own daughters a musical farewell. GE 31. 27 Song and instrumental accompaniment marked the celebration of the deliverance at the Red Sea and the victorious returns from Battle of Jephthah, David, and Saul. X 15. 20, 21. JG 11. 34. 1 Sa 18. 6, 7. On each of the 2 occasions that were involved in transporting the Ark to Jerusalem, vocalists and instrumentalists were present. 1 Ch 13. 8. 15. 16 In the later years of David's life, Jehovah, through his prophets Nathan and Gad, directed the establishment of the music organization for the sanctuary. 1 Ch 23. 1-5. 2 Ch 29. 25, 26. The music organization begun by David was fully realized at Solomon's temple. The grandeur and magnitude of the music at the dedication of the temple can be appreciated from the fact that the trumpeters alone numbered 120. 2 Ch 5. 12, 13 But as the nation grew lax in its faithfulness to Jehovah, all features of true worship suffered, including the music. However, when kings Hezekiah and Josiah instituted their reforms, as well as when the Jews returned from the Babylonian exile, efforts were made to re-establish the arrangement of music that Jehovah had indicated he desired. 2 Ch 29. 25-28. 35. 15. S3 from those under their influence on the pretense of possessing supernatural powers over and beyond those of the demons. The people believed that these professional sorcerers could invoke the demons to obey but that the demons had no power over the sorcerers. These spiritistic practices, so-called sciences, were developed in O Textoi Acute Muritra Longo, Magistrate 294 Magical Arts. GE 11. 8, 9 Today millions practice the magic of mantra, that is, the mystic formula, hymn, or spellbinding prayer of popular Hinduism. Magic practicing priests, witch doctors, medicine men, and sorcerers of all sorts are found in many places the world over, as they were among the Egyptians of the 18th century BCE in the days of Joseph. GE 41. 8, 24 Over 2 centuries after Joseph was sold into slavery, the magic-practicing priests of Egypt seemingly duplicated to an extent the first 3 miracles performed by Moses. X 7. 11, 22. 8. 7. But they were powerless when it came to producing gnats, having to admit that it was the finger of God. They were likewise helpless in preventing the plague of boils from afflicting themselves. X 8. 18, 19. 9. 11. Condemned by the Bible. The Bible is singularly different from the writings of other ancient people in that its references to uncanny powers and magical arts are all condemnatory. Nowhere does it recommend white magic to cancel spells of black magic. Rather, it urges faith, prayer, and trust in Jehovah as the protection against unseen wicked spirit forces and all their related activities, including magical influences. F6. 11-18 In the Psalms the righteous pray for deliverance from evil. Jesus taught us to pray for deliverance from the wicked one. Mount 6. 13 The Talmud and the Quran, on the other hand, give way to superstition and fear. The apocryphal book of Tobit contains absurd passages of magic working sorcery. Tobit 6. 5, 8, 9, 19. 8. 2, 3. 11. 8-15. 12. 3. See Apocrypha Tobit. The nation of Israel was, therefore, unlike its contemporaries in this respect, and in order that it might remain so, Jehovah gave his people some very explicit laws concerning those who were intimate with the occult powers. You must not preserve a sorceress alive. X 22. 18 You must not practice magic. As for a man or woman in whom there proves to be a mediumistic spirit or spirit of prediction, they should be put to death without fail. 19. 26. 20. 27 There should not be found in you a practicer of magic, or anyone who looks for omens, or a sorcerer, or one who binds others with a spell, or anyone who consults a spirit medium. 18. 10-14 Jehovah's prophet also declared that God would cut off all those who indulged in sorceries. Mic 5. 12 Certain individuals such as Saul, Jezebel, and Manasseh, who forsook Jehovah and turned to sorceries of one kind or another, are examples of the past not to be copied. 1 Sir 28. 7. 2 Chi 9. 22. 2 Ch 33. 1, 2, 6. The Christian Greek scriptures also tell of the prevalence of sorcerers throughout the Roman Empire in the days of Jesus and the Apostles. On the island of Cyprus, there was such a one named Bar Jesus, whom Paul denounced as full of every sort of fraud and every sort of villainy. Son of the devil. Act 13. 6-11 There were others, however, such as Simon of Samaria, who gave up their magic working practices and embraced Christianity. Act 8. 5, 9-13 On one occasion in Ephesus, quite a number of those who practiced magical arts brought their books together and burned them up before everybody. And they calculated together the prices of them and found them worth 50,000 pieces of silver if denarii, $37-200. Act 19. 18, 19 Writing to those in Galatia, the Apostle Paul included spiritistic occultism among the works of the flesh, warning them that those who practice such things will not inherit God's kingdom. 5. 19-21 Outside that glorious kingdom will be all those who persist in these Babylonish practices. 21. 8. 22. 15 Together with Babylon the Great, so notorious for misleading the nations by her sorceries, they will all be destroyed. 18. 23. See power, powerful works responsible use of power. Magistrate. Under the government of Babylon, police magistrates were civil officers in the jurisdictional districts who were Otextoi Acute Muritra Longo, Nahalath, 295 whom the initial national groups were dispersed about the earth following the flood. GE 10. 1, 2, 5. 1 Ch 1. 5. 2. A name that occurs in Ezekiel's prophecy concerning the storm-like attack by Gog of the land of Magog against Jehovah's gathered people. It appears to be used by the prophet to indicate a land or region in the remotest parts of the north, out of which Gog's host comes forth, his plundering forces described as riding on horses, the great congregation, even a numerous military force employing sword and bow. S38. 2-4, 8, 9, 13-16. 39. 1-3, 6. From the time of the Jewish historian Josephus, it has been suggested that the land of Magog related to the Scythian tribes found in NE Europe and Central Asia. Jewish Antiquities, I, 123-6. One classical writers of Greek and Roman times described the Scythians as northern barbarians, rapacious and warlike, equipped with large cavalry forces, well armored, and skilled with the bow. While the name Scythian may originally have been derived from Ashkenaz, another descendant of Japheth GE 10. 2, 3, the 1959 edition of the Encyclopaedia Britannica Volume 20, p. 235 states that throughout classical literature Scythia generally meant all regions to the north and northeast of the Black Sea, and a Scythian Scuths any barbarian coming from those parts. Other reference works likewise show that the term Scythian was used rather flexibly to embrace generally the nomadic tribes N of the Caucasus, the region between the Black and Caspian Seas, similar to the modern use of the term Tatar. Hence the Neuscharf Herzog Encyclopedia of Religious Knowledge comments. The name Scythians was among the ancients an elastic appellation, and so was the Hebrew Magog. Edited by S. Jackson, 1956, Volume V, p. 14. Symbolic use. The fact that the definite location of the land of Magog is left uncertain and indeterminate to us in the Bible as well as in secular history, along with the prophet's reference to the final part of the years as 38. 8. And the fact that the described invasion is not known to have taken place literally upon Israel, provide the basis for viewing the prophecy concerning Magog as relating to a future time in the biblical time of the end. Because of this, many commentators see in it a forecast of the final attack of the world powers upon the kingdom of God, and they see the land of Magog as representing the world as hostile to God's people and kingdom. Funk and Wagnall's New Standard Bible Dictionary, 1936, p. 307. Thus, the land of Magog clearly has a symbolic significance. The fact that the term Scythion, with which Magog is usually associated, came to be used as a synonym for that which is brutal, rapacious, and warlike would logically point to a position of strong opposition to God's people. The nations of the world will find themselves in such a position when, at the instigation of the foremost opposer of God, Satan the devil, they launch a final attack on earth against true worship of God. See Gog No. 2. 3. A term used at Revelation 20. 8 in relation to events to occur at the close of the 1,000-year reign of Christ Jesus and subsequent to the loosing of Satan from the abyss. Instead of referring to a particular land or location, Gog and Magog here is used to describe those on earth who yield to the released adversary's influence and rebel against God's rule as expressed through the holy ones and the beloved city. Re 20. 3, 7-10. Magpie middle dash. One of the heads of the people who is descendant, if not he himself, attested by seal the trustworthy arrangement of Nehemiah's day. NE 9. 38. 10. 1, 14, 20. Mahalalel. See Mahalalel number 1. Mahalalel ma middle dot hala middle dot lel possibly, praise of God. 1. The descendant of Seth through Enosh and Kenan. Hence Seth's great-grandson. Mahalalel lived 895 years. GE 5. 6-17. 1 ch 1. 2 in Luke's genealogy of Jesus, Heo textoi acute muritra longo, Mahaname 296 Mahaname ma middle dot naraim